Hello everyone! In this video we will review different sets of runes, item builds and situational items for Akali in patch 8.12, and we'll also review some of her combos and her common top lane matchups. Akali is a very nimble assassin with a huge burst damage. She is able to rip through the squishy targets very quickly, chase the fleeing opponents down with her unending jumps, and use the invisibility shroud in case of danger. Thanks to her healing and invisibility, she can survive for very long periods of time during the teamfights. But just like with any other assassin, Akali is very vulnerable to on-target crowd control sources, like Fiddlesticks' Fear for example. All in all, Akali is one of the easiest assassins to master, and is pretty much the easiest champion to snowball with, so we recommend her for players on low and average ratings. In this video we will review some of the item builds for Akali and some of her rune sets. So let's start with the basics, Assassin Akali rune set. Her primary path in this case will be Domination, with the Electrocute Keystone. It adds to her one-hit kill capabilities, as it is very easy to activate with pretty much any of her combos. Sudden Impact is the best choice from the first branch, as it can be activated by both your Shadow Dance and your Twilight Shroud. Zombie Ward is a very gold-effective rune, which provides you with vision. We recommend that you take it against the gank-reliant junglers such as Zac, Camille and Xin Zhao, as to be sure that they won't get you off guard. When you are playing against farming-reliant junglers such as Nocturne, Shyvana or Graves, pick the Eyeball collection instead. Relentless Hunter, coupled with your passive and Hextech Gunblade, will provide you with tons of sustain both during the laning phase and during teamfights. The secondary path for us is Resolve. Bone Plating will let you trade with your opponents a bit easier and avoid taking unnecessary damage. Chrysalis gives you the same thing the Bone Plating does for the early game, as in provides you with bonus health to keep you alive during the laning phase, but then after 4 successful kills it transforms into the adaptive damage. Your starting items should be Doran's Shield when you are facing heavy harassers, which are mostly mages or marksmen, or Dark Seal when you are facing melee heroes or squishy mages such as Katarina. In this matchup, the choice was made in the obvious favor of Dark Seal. The summoner spells are pretty easy to choose. Flash is your basic spell, there is no discussion. Every champion must have it in their kit to both escape the danger and chase the fleeing opponents. It is also combined with the ultimate quite often. Teleport is picked against the strong harassers who can give you a lot of trouble before you reach level 6, mostly long-range mages or marksmen. It lets you get back to the lane faster and prevents you from missing out on gold and experience. It is also easier to roam and split push with it. Remember that it's better for you to use it outside of the enemy field of vision. Ignite is recommended to have against melee heroes. It makes your snowballing against squishy targets easier and also applies the Grievous Wounds effect, which cuts the enemy healing by 40%. That can help you deal with Mundo, Vladimir or in this case with Darius. Until her level 6, Akali isn't that strong. She doesn't have the mobility she gets when her ultimate goes up, so she needs to play safer and focus on farming. During the early game, your strategy is simple. When you are facing melee bruisers, harass them with your Q as soon as it goes off cooldown, and use your harassment combo to trade effectively. We reset one stack of our passive using the creep and deploy the Mark of the Assassin on the target. After a bit of waiting, until there will be 1 second left before the mark goes off cooldown, we approach the opponent using our W and break the mark with an auto attack, before applying it once again and breaking it with another auto attack, and then finishing it all off with a Crescent Slash. This combo is very useful until you reach level 6. In here, Twilight Shroud acts as the Shadow Dance substitute. Also, keep in mind that your auto attack cancels a small part of Mark of the Assassin's casting animation. Until you reach level 6, try to keep the enemy creeps between the middle of the top lane and your own tower, as to not become an easy target for a gank from the enemy jungler. When faced with a ranged opponent, stay even more safe and use your Q to last hit the minions, and keep sustaining yourself with your passive after every successful poke from the opponent. After you reach level 6, you can duel pretty much any other top laner, but only when you aren't that far behind in gold and experience earned. If you are using the teleport summoner spell and your opponent is playing too safe to kill them, you can ask the bot lane to place a ward behind the enemies to teleport to them in case of a skirmish, or to help your jungler out with their gank. Also, after her level 6, Akali can push the lane, get back to base and roam to bot or mid lane to gank them, and then return back to base using her teleport. First of all, we build Bilge Water Cutlass, in case we need the sustain on the lane and during the trades with your opponent, or Hextech Revolver for higher damage output if everything goes well. In this matchup against Darius, Akali bought some boots during her first visit to the base, and then built a revolver. With a level 6, the basic combo changes a little bit. Just like before, we use Q on the enemy, reset the first stack of our passive using the creep, and then launch the enemy using the ultimate to break the mark with an auto attack. Then we use E, apply the mark again, break the mark with an auto attack, and ult once again. Rinse and repeat, if need be. Another good example of this combo can be seen here. In teamfights, try to avoid being focused by the enemy frontline and keep an eye on the cooldowns of the enemy summon spells. You need to pay special attention to Exhaust and Zhonya's Hourglass. Also, keep in mind the disengagement options they have, like Janna or Nami's ultimates. When you are sure that your engagement will be successful, you should focus the enemy marksmen, mages and other squishy carries. Try to avoid getting caught in crowd control, but if you do, use the Twilight Shroud or Zhonya's Hourglass, and don't hesitate to use your Shadow Dance charges to leap onto the creeps or the jungle creeps. Remember that Twilight Shroud moves you slightly towards the direction of the cast, allowing you to move over the landscape and some player-created obstacles, like Anivia or Japan's walls. Akali is very strong at roaming the map. You can push with your Crescent Slash, as it receives a 60% cooldown reduction whenever it kills a unit. Remember that you can swap lanes with your bot lane. It is easier to play against two enemy squishes than it is to face a tanky bruiser. Akali can duel the two easily, while dealing with a tank is a problem for her. In other words, push the lane and go for roaming. Or split push and use the teleport whenever you are needed elsewhere. Your one-shot combo includes the Hextech Gunblade active, and this is gonna be a long one, guys, so get ready. We reset the first strike from the passive, jump at the enemy using the ultimate, apply the mark of the assassin on them, use the Gunblade to deal more damage and slow them, auto attack to apply the passive, the Lich Bane and break the mark, and then use E. Akali can also deal with towers pretty easily thanks to her passive and Lich Bane, which can be activated effectively with the Crescent Slash. Summing up, let's review the different item builds on Akali. Akali depends a lot on her movement speed, so the boots are usually upgraded before minute 10. A choice of your boots depends on your lane opponent and overall game status. But if everything is going well and you feel like snowballing, Sorcerer's Shoes are your go-to boots. However, in most of the matches, Ninja Tabi will be the best choice for the lanes against physical damage dealers, and Mercury Treads will be best against the magic damage dealers. In the current meta, Akali has two commonly used builds. The first one is a classic assassin build, which provides you with a lot of damage and a little bit of durability. This kind of build will provide you with a lot of burst damage. Use it when the enemy team has a lot of squishy targets and few tanks and disengaging supports, like Janna and Karma for example, and no champions like Zillion, Kindred and Kayle, who can prevent their allies from dying for certain periods of time. But Akali can be played as a bruiser as well. In that role, she sacrifices a chunk of burst damage for durability and damage per second. The next two item builds can be used in combination with other rune sets, which go through precision and resolve. The keystone in this case should be the Conqueror, which transforms some of our damage into true damage, and let Akali do without any armor penetration items. The next build order is a bit more balanced. It still provides you with a lot of damage, but also gives you a decent amount of extra health and damage resistances. That allows Akali to stay alive long enough during the teamfights. Use this build against the tanky enemy setups. The third build we would recommend is the Bruiser build. With these items, Akali can be a part of sustained combat and deal a high amount of damage per second, while still being tanky enough to survive. We picked this build for the times where your team has multiple support heroes and they need a good high DPS carry for prolonged teamfights. So, to sum it all up, these are the things to remember. Before level 6, Akali has no mobility spells besides her ultimate, and has no way to show her true power without it. Your goal is to play safely until then, farming the most out of your lane and harassing your opponent with your basic combo. After level 6, with her ultimate up, Akali becomes incredibly nimble and can dispatch pretty much any opponent. The second way of using it is to push your lane to the limit and roam the map. Split push. Akali can just straight up dismantle the towers by using a Lich Bane. She is good for split pushing, as she can clear the waves out quickly and can duel the enemy champions. And finally, teamfights. During the teamfights, depending on what you've built, you may have two different goals. If you're an assassin, you have to play safe and try to flank the opponents to attack the vulnerable targets. If you're a bruiser, you have to be in the front line and attack the enemy bruisers. Alright guys, so this is it. We hope that this video will help you with mastering Akali and improve your rating. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, good luck in your solo queue.